You know, I find it pretty hilarious that Donald Trump was going around before the election claiming that he was going to restore law and order, he was going to drain the swamp, clear out the deep state. But what have we seen instead? We have seen Donald Trump come into office and become the most corrupt president that our country has ever seen. And it's not even close. Donald Trump is the swamp that he has been complaining about for years. He's launched that meme coin days before the inauguration. He's generated over $300 million in transaction fees alone. He went over to Qatar and is now accepting a $400 million plane from the Qatari royals. And now we are learning that he's just going around passing out pardons to people who have either been able to pay him off in some way or people who have been able to demonstrate that they are part of the MAGA cult. It's all just right out there in the open. They're not even trying to hide it. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few of these pardons, shall we? And we'll go ahead and start off with this Virginia sheriff. His name is Scott Jenkins. If you guys do appreciate my work, remember to subscribe.
Former sheriff has been spared a prison term that was set to begin today. The president just pardoned him. Justice correspondent Scott McFarland has the story.
Protect your rights.
It took a rural Virginia jury in the heart of Trump country just 2 hours to convict former Sheriff Scott Jenkins, a longtime vocal Trump supporter, of federal bribery and fraud charges in December for accepting tens of thousands of dollars in cash in exchange for badges for wealthy businessmen. Prosecutors argued some of the exchanges of cash were caught on video from people who paid to be deputized for the perks, including to skip the TSA line, get earlier access to the COVID vaccine, avoid getting traffic tickets, and in one case, to help a felon get his gun rights back. The president announced the pardon on Memorial Day, one day before Jenkins was to begin serving a 10-year prison term, arguing the case was mishandled by a Biden judge and a weaponized Department of Justice.
Yeah, so this is what Donald Trump is doing. He's going around there claiming that Biden weaponized the DOJ, that he was targeting all these conservatives, everything was so unfair. And then you take a look at a case like this, and you've got a guy who accepted more than $75,000 to, give sheriff badges to people who may have wanted to skirt the law in other ways. And this guy wasn't in a blue city or a blue state. He was in deep red district in Virginia. To think that he was somehow not given a fair shake is just ridiculous. But because he was able to prove that he was a MAGA loyalist, Donald Trump is just giving him a pass, I guess. That's what we're getting here. It is absolutely insane. Let's go ahead and move on to this pardon. You guys may have remembered the Chrisley family from reality TV. Donald Trump decided that they deserve a pardon as well.
Where President Trump has announced on social media he is pardoning reality television stars Todd and Julie Chrisley. The pardons come after a federal jury in Atlanta convicted the Chrisleys, along with their accountant in 2022, of conspiring to defraud banks and the IRS out of millions of dollars.
A federal judge in Atlanta sentenced Julie Chrisley to 7 years in federal prison and her husband Todd to 12 years. Since then, their daughter Savannah has conducted a public campaign to have their convictions thrown out, claiming her parents were targeted by Democratic prosecutors. We don't know yet when the Chrisleys will be released.
So there's that excuse again. This is a family that was just targeted by the Biden DOJ. It's all these corrupt Democrats. They're just coming after the conservatives, right, guys? These people were lying to the bank to get fraudulent loans. They were defrauding the IRS for over $30 million. It's disgusting. And their daughter even spoke at the RNC. She has connections to Trump's inner circle. And now, what do you know? They get a pardon too. These people with their white collar crime, because they've been able to, have Trump's ear through their daughter, they get a free pass. They get a free pass. Do you think this would happen for anybody that wasn't a MAGA cultist? You guys remember Michelle Fiore? Trump gave her a pardon a couple months back, even after she stole from basically a police officer.
And let's keep this in mind. Jenkins is the latest pardon that Trump has given to loyal supporters. In April, Mr. Trump pardoned embattled Nevada Republican Michelle Fiore, who was awaiting sentencing on federal charges that she used money meant for a statue honoring a slain police officer instead for personal items, including plastic surgery.
Like, you can't even make this stuff up, right? I thought this was the party that backed the blue. I thought they were going to stand up for the police. Instead, he's giving pardons to people who collected funds to erect a statue of a fallen police officer. And she decided she just wanted to go pamper herself, buy some personal items, maybe some plastic surgery. No big deal, guys. We're going to let her off the hook, too, because she, too, was also able to demonstrate that she's a MAGA loyalist. What are we doing here, folks? What are we doing? This is so embarrassing for the United States. Donald Trump has been whining that we are turning into some, shithole country, as he says. But he is the one doing that. We've heard, for years now, allegations or Republicans screaming that Ukraine is corrupt. We shouldn't even give them a cent because they're so corrupt. And then you got the United States president just letting everybody out of jail as long as they can demonstrate that they are part of the MAGA crew. And get a load of this guy. His mom was able to donate $1 million through one of Trump's fundraisers, and her son was pardoned as well.
A report from the New York Times found that the Trump administration pardoned Paul Walsack after his mother, Elizabeth Fago, attended a $1 million per plate fundraising dinner for the president's super PAC. 3 weeks after the dinner, the president signed the pardon, getting Walsack out of an 18-month prison sentence and a $4 million restitution payment.
And that last point is really kind of important, and it's not something I necessarily considered before. But when a president comes out and gives you a full and unconditional pardon, all of that restitution that you may have owed to the government, all of that gets wiped away. And the former pardon attorney, Liz Oyer, she actually calculated all of this different restitution that has been owed by all of these people who have received pardons. And she has calculated more than $1 billion that was owed to the government that will now no longer be paid because Trump has given them a pardon. And here, this one is just openly corrupt. You've got mommy going into a fundraiser, donating $1 million, and what do you know? Her son gets out of prison. And I think it's really telling what the judge said in his particular case. It's just quite rich.
Well, one other thing that's so striking about the timeline here is Walsack was just sentenced to prison days before he received that pardon from President Trump. And the judge who sentenced him said at that proceeding that he wanted to send the message that wealth is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. And for that reason, he sentenced Walsack to 18 months in prison, in addition to having to pay back the money that he owed by defrauding, essentially, taxes, by not paying taxes.
So you've got the judge literally saying that wealth should not be a get-out-of-jail-free card. And then you got Donald Trump coming in, swooping in behind, just nullifying the jury's decision, nullifying what the judge had to say, and letting him walk free. And now all of that restitution that was owed, that's wiped out as well. And this is a guy who I think he was taking all of the tax money that he was supposed to be paying to the IRS from his employees. He told his employees that, yes, their taxes were being paid, but then he took that $10 million and was leading a lavish lifestyle. Just like we continue to see from all of these MAGA freaks. And because mommy was able to go to the $1 million a plate fundraiser, free pass, baby. Free pass. It is all so grotesque. It is... I guess we should have expected this, right? I mean, because how did Donald Trump start his second term in office? Oh, yeah, that's right. He pardoned all those people who led an insurrection against the United States of America.
The pardons included hundreds of people sentenced to significant prison time for their convictions of serious felonies, such as assaulting police officers with deadly or dangerous weapons. Additionally, Trump issued, quote, a full, complete, an unconditional pardon to all other individuals convicted of offenses related to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021, a category that includes other rioters who assaulted law enforcement officers.
Yeah, and we all know how that ended, right? You got many of these people who committed violence on January 6th. Some of them got out of prison. They went back to their hometowns. They committed more crimes. You've got Enrique Tarrio having private dinners with Donald Trump. Enrique Tarrio has been trying to track down some of the police officers who were involved in January 6th, trying to give them a hard time, just causing problems there. I mean, these guys carried out violence in the name of MAGA, and Donald Trump said, yeah, that's okay. That is what this country is being turned into. If you can demonstrate that you are a MAGA cultist, if you can demonstrate that you are loyal to Donald Trump, and if you are able to, commit violence in the name of Donald Trump, well, then you just might get a pardon. We are literally turning into the country that Donald Trump claimed that we were years ago, right? It is so gross. And even in his first term, Donald Trump pardoned all of his buddies who were involved in the Russia probe. Republicans continue to say that this was a Russia hoax, but it was far from a hoax.
U.S. President Donald Trump has swept away the top convictions made in the Russia probe after he pardoned 2 more allies, ex-campaign manager Paul Manafort and a close associate Roger Stone on Wednesday. It was the second wave of pardons and commutations in as many days as Trump faces the end of his term. He also gave clemency to Charles Kushner, father of his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Manafort and Stone had both declined to cooperate with the investigation into Russia's meddling in the 2016 election. The day before, Trump pardoned 2 other major figures in the investigation, Michael Flynn, his former national security advisor, and George Papadopoulos, a former advisor.
Yeah, so anybody who did some of the dirty work for Donald Trump as regards to the whole Russia collusion thing, all those people got a pardon too. So don't let Republicans come out here and say it was a Russia hoax, because it was far from that. We know that people in the Trump campaign were working closely with Russia to try to meddle in the 2016 election. You had people like Michael Flynn who lied to the FBI. You had others who wouldn't even cooperate at all. And the only thing that may have been taken too far is that they weren't able to prove that Donald Trump had a direct tie to Russia. But people in his campaign surely did. So, far from a hoax. These people continue to lie to you. And, now we see Donald Trump just taking this to a whole other level. He's going around passing out pardons to people who demonstrate MAGA loyalty. If you carried out violence in the name of Donald Trump, you might be A-OK as well. And I think the way Scott Galloway puts this is just kind of perfect. You've got all of these wealthy people who are protected by the law and not bound by it. But then everybody else who isn't in the inner circle, who doesn't have close connection with Trump, they are bound by the law, but not protected by it. That is what is happening in Trump's America. It's an absolute embarrassment. It is grotesque. These MAGA fools want to, they always try to cast or, blame others, say that Biden was so corrupt, Hunter Biden was working with Burisma and yada, yada, yada. And Donald Trump's just said, hold my beer. I'll show you what actual corruption looks like. And that's exactly what we are seeing in this second Trump administration. Donald Trump is the most corrupt president that our country has ever seen. Like I said, it is not even close, and he is the swamp that he has been complaining about for years. So, I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against the right-wing media ecosystem that just launders this kind of bullshit for Donald Trump day in and day out. So if you do like what I do here, please remember to smash that subscribe button. Of course, that is free. And if you guys want to see Donald Trump having the meltdown of his life when he was speaking to the South African president in the Oval Office, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.